Hey friends, welcome to Gardening with Creekside and day 2 of finishing the Gatsby Gal flower bed. You were with me yesterday when we were in here. We pulled out the Scentlandia, we planted some Perfecto Mundo double purple azaleas, got the bed weeded, got everything prepped. Today we're going to come in, we're going to fertilize, we're going to compost, put the mulch down, and then we are also going to put together a set of containers just right over my shoulder. It is a gorgeous, I guess technically late winter, very early spring. It feels like spring here in North Carolina, a zone 8A. Nothing but blue sky. I've got birds galore right here on the feeder. I've got like a yellow finch. Oh, there it goes. And then Carolina chickadees. The forest pansy is getting ready to pop out in full bloom. It is covered in buds. Now, you were with me yesterday when we were here and we pulled out the Scentlandia just because it was way too happy in this flower bed. When Scentlandia is happy, it will go ahead and naturalize, which is the technical way for saying that it will spread, right? And I don't want that in the Gatsby Gal flower bed because I have a lot of other perennials in there and shrubs, and I just don't have the room for it to naturalize. So what we are doing is we're taking a little jaunt, a little walk through the backyard. And we're going to go down here and I'm going to show you where we are going to put them. Jerry went ahead and moved them for me this morning. We are not going to plant them today simply because we don't have the equipment. Andrew is on a landscape job, and so he has the Bobcat with the auger. And so I just wanted to kind of show you where they're going to go. Now, where Brenna is, behind Brenna rather, is where Jerry went ahead and put the Scentlandias. You can see that it's a nice kind of dappled sun area. The great thing about Scentlandias is that they are a native shrub, they are an Itea, and they can do literally anywhere from full sun to full shade. I had them in full sun. Now we're going to move to a more morning sun, afternoon shade. They're going to go somewhere in here. I don't really know exactly where. We're not going to overthink this too much. I just want to really kind of plop them in the ground and leave them be. The easiest spot really, now that I'm down here looking at it, because this is there's like some briars in here. We'd have to kind of clean this up a little bit. We certainly could put them down where Jerry had them. That's a nice kind of a blank open spot. We could also go ahead and put them right in here because that's a natural area that is open and just free. So we could put them there as well. Scentlandias, the wetter the spot is, the more they're going to naturalize. And the way that they naturalize is that they send out runners, which was in that flower bed, if you remember from yesterday, was becoming a big problem because it was popping up in the middle of perennials. It was too happy and being way too friendly. Down here, it can be as friendly as it wants, and it can spread as much as it wants, and it will not matter. While we're down here, I want to give you just a very quick little update. One, I just saw a butterfly, swallowtail. That was the first one of the season. The camellias down here are doing a quick little bloom. This one was in full bloom the other day. This is seafoam, but you can see seafoam is a pure white with a double. It was in full bloom. Remember, these are definitely new plants, and they are getting established. They've been in the ground just a year. Here we have, I need to put my actual little signs down on it. This is a beautiful double red. This is the, Tom Knudsen, I believe. Look at that. So this is Japonica season. Japonica camellias bloom this time of year. We don't have any blooms on this one. Ooh, we've got some on this. This might be black tie. We'll have to look. That is the great thing though about leaving your tags on is, yes, this is black tie. So black tie is another double red, and it has lots of good buds on it. So that's really fun. And then we have two pinks. This one has a couple little buds on it. And then this one I could see from the back porch. It started the other week. This is April Remembered. Look at that. So sweet. All right, now what we're gonna do is we are going to go ahead and make our way back up to the flower bed, and we're going to fertilize the flower bed. I'm going to go through a quick little tutorial on how we fertilize and why we fertilize, especially why it's important to do it this time of year, talking about how often you need to do it, all the good things. The tulips are on their way out. From a distance, you see color, but up close, they definitely are, the petals are drying up, they're done. It has been a glorious season. Oh, I just adore tulips. The candy tuft, look at that. That's the Alexander's Great. Oh my gosh, we're gonna have this both at retail and online. This is, of course, just a great perennial. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna hop up here, I'm gonna get my fertilizer, and then we're gonna come out fertilizing your garden. Okay, my friends, so fertilizing. Why do we fertilize our garden this time of year? When you're coming out of winter and going into spring, forget the calendar. Don't worry about the calendar, because it depends on if you're in North Carolina, it depends if you're in Southern California, if you are in Maine, or if you're in Michigan, right? So the calendar wise is gonna look different for all of us. You're gonna pay attention to what your garden is telling you. When you see plants starting to wake up, maybe you have bulbs in the ground and they start flowering. You start to see hydrangeas put on new growth. You start to see your hostas pop out of the ground, right? So when your plants are waking up from their winter slumber, that is when you want to fertilize. The beautiful thing about perennials, trees, shrubs, you can fertilize them one time a year, and that is all they need. If you forget a year, if life is crazy and you cannot fertilize your perennial garden, your shrubs, your trees, it's okay. That is the beautiful thing about these plants. They are not divas, they are not fussy. However, if you can fertilize them, that is always a great thing. My analogy is, imagine a bear waking up from hibernation. Your plants have been hibernating all winter. They have been dormant. They wake up and they are hungry. They need food to then put on the foliage, put on the flowers, put on the new growth for the coming season. That is why we want to fertilize this time of year. Now, if you fertilize, you can't do it in the spring, you do it in the summer. It's fine. There is grace in gardening. Your garden is not going to fall apart because you don't fertilize the exact perfect way at the exact perfect time. Grace in gardening, my friends. I am here just to give you some information to educate you. So if you're able to fertilize this winter going into spring, awesome. Go for it. Now, the two that I am going to use today are the two that are probably my number two that I use. The one in front, right? The Plant Tone. Plant Tone is what I call the Swiss Army knife of fertilizer. If you only buy one fertilizer for your garden, this would be what I would recommend. It is a slow release fertilizer, as all of the Espoma fertilizers are, so you don't have to worry about burning your plants. It is nice and slow released, it is organic, and it will do a whole host of plants. Just like you see on the label, you have got vegetables, you have got flowers, there are perennials in there, there are annuals in there. This is what I use for the vast majority of my garden. Remember when we were doing the forest pansy bed right behind, or in front of me rather? I put down the vast majority of it was Plant Tone. You'll also notice that I have a red like solo cup, right? This is what I use to scoop out, and then I just broadcast it. I sprinkle it. What you want to do is take a cupful, right? And if you want to measure, you absolutely can. Just follow the directions on the back of the bag. So you take a scoopful of it, and then let's say the grass right here, okay? So you want to go around what we call the drip line. You want to go around the perimeter of the plant and sprinkle it in there. So we're going to do that with all of these perennials. The other one that I do have in here is Rose Tone. Rose Tone obviously is perfect for your rose bushes. It is also great for all of your woody, ornamental, flowering shrubs, aka hydrangeas. So I use this on my hydrangeas. We get that recommendation from our friends at Spring Meadow. They of course are the home of the Proven Winners Color Choice shrubs and the breeders, producers of the vast majority of the hydrangeas that I have in my garden. You can use this with butterfly bushes, anything that is a woody, ornamental, shrub that produces flowers, you can use rose tone. Now, if you don't have rose tone, can you use plant tone? Absolutely. Don't try to overthink it, y'all. It's okay. Some fertilizer is better than no fertilizer. If you only have a bag of rose tone and you can't get plant tone, y'all, go for it. Use what you have. It will be just fine. So what I will do with the rose tone is for all of my hydrangeas in here. Now, I only have 2 different kinds of hydrangeas. I have 5 of these guys on the perimeter. This is the Limelight Prime, so it is more of an upright, not as big as a Limelight, but still gives me those big, beautiful flowers. You will notice that my hydrangea is waking up, right? I have got buds, little leaf buds coming out all over these plants. So I've got 5 of those all the way around. And then at the center, as the name of this flower bed suggests, this is the Gatsby Gal bed. So this is a Gatsby Gal oak leaf hydrangea. It too is already starting to put out new growth. They're not turned green yet, but I do have little buds right there on the tips of these. Now, the Gatsby Gal is an oak leaf, and if you know about hydrangeas and oak leaf hydrangeas, they are typically a shade, filtered sun hydrangea, right? Gatsby Gal is one of the most sun-tolerant, heat-tolerant oak leaf hydrangeas that can do full sun. This one gets full sun. I also have irrigation in here. You'll see that. They're not snakes. They're irrigation lines. And so I go ahead and use, of course, the rose tone on that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the whole flower bed. We're working from the corner down to the Generous Gardener rose. I'm not going to fertilize the Generous Gardener. Why? Well, because I already did. When we were doing the forest pansy, I went ahead and gave it some food. So I'm not going to fertilize it. If you've not fertilized your roses and they are putting on new growth, it would be a great time to do it. So if you have really actual like leaves starting to form on your roses, it is a great time to go ahead and do the fertilizer. Then we are going to come back after the fertilizer is done. You will see I have the tractor here. It is full of the Creekside blend. This is a custom blend that we have like a soil supplier, landscape, massive like wholesale distributor make this for us. We've used this many times before. This is a compost and pine bark fine blend. It is a 60-40 ratio. So it's got great compost in here, but it also has the aged pine bark. So it's literally the bark off of pine trees that has been aged and it has been mixed in here. We use this as an amendment and also as a mulch. We used it last year as a mulch on the privacy berm. It held wonderfully. It did not wash. The only place that it washed was on the very edge, like where the grass and the mulch meet. And so when we would get those gully washers, that little area would run some, would wash some, but not in the flower bed. This is a great way to amend my soil because this is thick red clay right here and it needs that organic matter. So I'm going to fertilize and then I'm going to spread this out. It might take me a couple of tractor loads to do it, but we're going to get it done. Work first, and then we're going to have fun putting some containers together. flower bed is complete. I'm going to show it to you in a minute. I wanted to get over here before the sun really hit these pots. I know it's not the optimal filming conditions. I'm going to try to show you as close as I possibly can. The sun is not working with me really well. I am on the corner of the garden shed, just like right beside the flower bed that I was in. And I have a collection of blue pots here. In the big blue pot that is on the concrete, that is an At Last Rose. She has been in here, this will be her second full year in that container. Clearly, she is very happy because she is completely flushed out with brand new growth. Very, very happy in that pot. In this taller pot, this kind of pitiful looking specimen of a plant is a Spanish lavender. We had these available about this time last year at the garden center. One of our suppliers had them. It was like a Spanish lavender standard, a topiary. It did great here in the summertime and it overwintered. Contrary to what you might think, I don't think it's dead because when I bend the stems, they're very pliable. They don't just snap. Clearly, she needs a lot of love. So we're going to restake her and I'm going to show you how to trim your lavender because now is the time to trim your lavender. And then I have 3 pots right here that are empty. We are going to go ahead and put some annuals in these containers. It is a time to cautiously begin planting annuals. And in the fun spirit of trying to bring spring in and welcome spring in, and it is March, and if you're a sports fan, basketball fan, you probably know about March Madness. Well, we're going to have a little March Madness of our own here at Creekside Nursery. And the way that you're going to figure out what that madness is we're going to have you sign up for our emails if you have not already done that. We're going to be running a special on the annuals. I know we did that, I don't know, about a month or so ago, and it was a bit of a mess. Not this time. We're going to have madness, but it's going to be good March Madness. If you are already subscribed to our emails, you're going to get an email because that special begins this coming Monday, right? So this coming Monday is when the special starts. You're going to get your email before that. If you are not signed up for our emails, I am going to put a link, a direct link in the video description and then pin it in the comments. Click on that. It will take you straight to our website where you can sign up for our emails and you will get the March Madness here at Creekside Nursery special. We send out emails about, I don't know, 3 to 4 times a week where we give you tips, we highlight plants, we highlight our staff. It is really a fun. Brenna even had her own email a couple of weeks ago. So it's a lot of fun to get those emails. We don't share your information. We're not going to spam you. It's just a great way to stay up to date with things that are happening either online or here at the garden center. So sign up to learn about the March Madness here at Creekside Nursery. Now, what I've done is with these 3 pots, as I always do, I have my land and sea. I filled in the bottom 1/3 with the land and sea, just to save a little bit of time. Now what I'm going to do is I have my Proven Winners potting soil. Personally, this is my favorite. This is what I use, and I'm going to go ahead and top off the rest of the containers. Now, what we're going to use in these 3 pots. Just the other week, there is a hay rack right here, a window box, if you shall, that it is planted with these 3 plants. So in the center is the Bright Lights Horizon Sunset Osteospermum. This is a really fun African daisy that has flowers of the sunset. So you've got oranges and peaches and pinks, a little bit of yellows, some purple in there. We're going to plant 2 of these guys in the little smaller container. In the hay rack, we had the Aromanth Mulberry Nemesia. This is a great cool weather plant, beautiful fragrance to it, plum-like colored flowers with some yellow in it. I've got 4 of those that I'm going to plant in this bigger container. Then I have got White Knight Sweet Alyssum. I have got 3 of these, which is kind of pushing it. I could have only put 2, but I'm just going to go for it. This is a very vigorous plant. That is the spiller in the window box. White Knight is probably one of the most aggressive sweet alyssums. Beautiful, nice, pure white flowers will be mounding and trail over. The reason that I'm planting like this is because I want to tie these in together. What I'm planting is what we call a monoculture, meaning that I have only one plant per pot. Okay, so first of all, let me get some soil in here, and then I'll talk as I plant. The benefit of creating monocultures is there's a couple of different reasons. Okay, I'm just going to share with you some of mine. One, by placing multiples of the same plant in a container, you're going to make a really big impact. These plants are going to stand out really nicely. They're going to make a big pop. I always do a monoculture. You can do them with, any kind of plant. It does not matter. It could be a hosta. It could be a coleus. It could be a sweet alyssum. It could be a petunia, calibrachoa. It truly does not matter what the plant is. You absolutely can do monocultures with any kind of plant. Next, you don't have to worry about pairing plants with like water conditions, because if you have the exact same type of plant in your container, then obviously the growing conditions are going to be the same for those plants. For example, sweet alyssum loves water. This thing is a water hog for me in North Carolina. It is really hard to overwater this thing. So I know that I can come in here and sock the water to it. Let's say I was pairing this with some super bells. They tend to like it a little drier. They don't like to be super wet. So by doing sweet alyssum in one, and you could do super bells in another, you can keep one dry and you can keep one wet, and they're equally as gorgeous. And so those are the main reasons. Makes a huge impact, and then it really is, as far as like the care of it, makes it really, really easy. This way, by repeating the exact same plants that I have as a combo in one container and now separating them out, just makes the space all tied in together. It flows really nicely, and it just makes a nice big impact. 2 osteos. This is a small, narrow container. It is deep, but it's not wide. I want a big impact because remember, we're having a wedding here at the end of May, and I want these plants just stunning and full. So what I'm doing is taking 2 osteos, and I'm basically taking them together, and I'm going to smush them. You can do that. It's all right. And we're going to smush them. I'm smushing, y'all. If you don't know the word smush, you're going to know the word smush now. So I'm really packing them in there. And then, of course, we're going to come back here in a second and add some more soil to ones that needs a little bit of soil. I have a puppy dog on my feet. All right, now over here, we have the Aromanth mulberry nemesia. I am putting 4 of those in here. You can kind of gauge how many plants you need to put in a container by, especially if it's a proven winners. This is why, as a grower retailer, I love proven winners, because every proven winner plant comes with a fantastic tag. So on the back of the tag, it'll tell you minimum spacing is 8 inches. So what that tells me is that I can really pack these plants in here. As opposed to the sweet alyssum, it says the minimum spacing is, 12 inches. So, that's not horrible. Some of your petunias, your Vista petunias may say, 2 feet, 18 inches, 2 feet. Shows you how vigorous they are. So we're going to get these guys tucked down in here. For the wedding, these are Alyssa's colors. Alyssa is one of our sweet employees. She has worked with us, 3 years, I think it is. And so she and Nick are getting married. We're hosting the reception here in the backyard. So I need everything looking primo for the wedding. These are her colors. It will go quite nicely. So we have the same plant, the Aromanth mulberry here, and the osteo here, this hay rack, and then the 2 urns on the patio. Now you notice that I am planting annuals that like cool weather. These are probably not going to be annuals for me in North Carolina, a zone 8A. This spot particularly gets hot afternoon sun. These are not going to be plants that are going to go all the way through. by the heat, when the heat really hits for me, that's like in June, these are gonna start to show some wear and tear. Like I will not be able to keep enough water on this sweet alyssum. So if you want, it's noisy, I know, I'm sorry. If you want to be planting annuals in this very early spring, you need to go for annuals that like it cool. Y'all, I am not even beginning to think about planting hot weather annuals. For example, pentas, lantana, basil, coleus, avovulus, portulaca. It is going to be at least a month, 6 weeks before I can even think about planting those hot weather plants. Even though they're in the greenhouse, where trust me, it is hot in there and it is warm, those warm weather plants are just like hanging out. They are not even trying. I mean, they're growing, right? But they're nothing like this Nemesia. We have some of the cool weather, the hot weather stuff that we planted at the exact same time as the cool weather stuff, and it is literally half the size of the cool weather stuff. So if you have ordered, done some online ordering with us, and you have that lantana or those hot weather plants like I was talking about, just know that it's going to be just a little bit of a hot minute, literally, before we can send them to you, because we want to make sure that those plants are nice and happy and big and vigorous when they get to you. Plus, unless you're, in somewhere extremely hot, you're not ready to plant them either. If I'm not ready, odds are people in my zone or cooler, you're not ready. So just hold on, we're taking care of you, no worries. You'll notice I'm taking my land and sea and I am top dressing. It's always a wonderful thing to do when you plant your annuals. Adds a little bit of insulation, dresses it up so you don't see the potting soil and that perlite. The perlite's the little white things in there, provides aeration to the soil. So it just dresses it up, adds another layer of nutrition. All I have to do at this point is just water them in and then leave them alone. If they start to need some food, which they're going to, because food equals flowers, is you're going to come in with your water-soluble fertilizer and shoot them with a little bit of a drink of fertilizer water. If I can do it every 2 weeks, then I'm feeling really good about myself, just honest. So these guys are all taken care of. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, I'm going to try to rearrange the camera so we can get a nice up-close view of this, and I'm going to show you how we're going to restake the lavender and how we're going to prune it. There's a couple of tools that I need for this job. One, I need to have, of course, my great Felco clippers because we are going to prune this. And then I need my twine. This is a green jute twine. We got these, we have them available both here at the nursery and online. This is great to attach any kind of plant to whatever it is you need to do it. So whether it's a tomato plant, if it's a roses, if it's climbing roses, if it's, a standard, whatever you need to tie a plant to, this is great. It's a natural product and it's green, so it will blend in with what we are doing. Also, I still have my plant tone right here. We're going to put some plant tone around it. We're going to feed this plant, and then we're going to top dress with the land and sea, get her well watered, and she will be fine. So I think what we're going to do first is when you have lavender, lavender is a lot like, in my brain, like your Russian sage, maybe your Caryopteris, those kinds of things, even butterfly bushes, in the fact of they're very woody. And I like to prune them at the end of winter going into spring. I don't want to do it in the fall because they're very woody and they could be susceptible for me in the wintertime to rot. I'm 90% sure that this plant is alive. We're definitely going to find out, but when you clip it, yeah, it's got some green in there. So I don't think, she looks rough, but I don't think she's dead. So what we're going to do first, I think, is let's just go ahead and reattach her. Let's get her standing up because she is definitely leaning here. When we got these plants, it came with this metal stake, so it's in there and it had some little clips, but it outgrew the clips and broke the clips. That's why I have the jute. So I'm going to come in here, and so that It doesn't slip because I've had that problem before, like with my rose standards, that if I just did like little loops, then those loops would slide down and it wouldn't hold it really tight. So we're gonna come in here and basically we're gonna kind of do a little bit of a wrap, and I'm not gonna cut my twine yet. I'm gonna keep it nice and on the ball so that way I can really see how much I need. And we're just gonna kind of gently pull her up, right? And then we're gonna come in and try not to let my container, you know what I'm gonna do? It'd be easier to go ahead. We're learning as we go, friends, right? We learn as we go. Real life gardening here, my friends. All right, so I just cut me a nice long string. Hopefully it's a lot longer than what I need. So we're gonna hold it up here. There we go. And keeping tension, we're just gonna wrap. Okay, there we go. So she's all nice and wrapped up and she's nice and tight, so she will grow straight. Last year when I planted this, because obviously it was a lot smaller last year, I did underplant it with, I want to say I did, underplanted it with some other, some annuals. Basically, we're going to cut this back by half. When you have a standard, whether it's a hydrangea standard, a lavender standard, a Rose of Sharon standard, most of those plants are going to grow and bloom on new growth. So we're going to cut it back basically by half. Now, at this point, we're not going to be super precise. I'm not going to get my measuring stick out. If you want to, go for it. I think that's green in there. We're going to find out. Time will tell. Always be optimistic, right? It's better to be optimistic and she survive than be the other end and think it's dead and rip it out and it's alive. So we gardeners tend to be optimistic, so we're just gonna go for it. So, oh yeah, we got some green growth in there. They do like it hot, and this spot right here is, while it does get afternoon sun, excuse me, whoo, she's poofing out her old needles. She's a little dusty. It does stay in the winter. It doesn't get very much winter sun. And so that's why it is not coming back well right now. I think it's still just a little bit too early. I have a phenomenal lavender. Now it's an English lavender, but it's by the steps of the patio and it gets blazing hot sun. And she's already putting on new growth. So a lot of this is gonna have to do with location. If this plant were in full hot sun all day, then it probably would be showing new growth already, but it's not. So we are where we are. All right, now the needles definitely are all dried up, right? So we're gonna get these leaves out that have blown in here, get those out. Go ahead and see if we can clean up everything just a little bit while we're here. Might as well just go ahead and get those needles off. It was gorgeous last year. Spanish lavender has a very different flower than like your English lavender or what we think of a lavender. And so it was really fun and thoroughly enjoyed having it as a nice different kind of texture and interest to this space. All right, so all cleaned up. I'm covered in needles, but that's all right. It's all good. It's not gardening till you get dirty, people. All right, we're gonna give her a little shot of plant tone. My cup broke. I needed 2 solo cups. One couldn't handle the plant tone and the rose tone. All right, so zhuzh that in there like so. Come back with your land and sea. So great trick tip is if you have perennials or shrubs or something in a container, go ahead and top dress them with land and seed. I've already done Miss At-Last over here, and she is doing great. All right, simple as that. She's restaked, she's trimmed, she's fertilized, she's got some good compost around her. I'm gonna get everything cleaned up, get everything watered. I've got a stash of plants over here. I think every gardener gets a stash of plants, and so they need a little bit of water. That is some perennials I'm gonna put in another part of the garden, but they're just hanging out here for right now. They're good, they just need a little drink of water. Get everybody a drink of water, and then I'm gonna show you the flower bed, because oh my goodness, it just looks amazing. Looks so, so good. Today's project, yesterday's project, is officially complete. This bed is done. I don't have to touch it if I don't want to, really for the rest of the season, because full of perennials, full of shrubs. The only thing that I could possibly think that I might do is if once the shrubs, perennials really wake up and flourish out, then if there's a hole somewhere that needs a little attention, I could pop an annual in there. But oh my gosh, y'all, this spot no longer causes me stress and anxiety when I walk by it. Forest pansy to the right is done. Gatsby gal bed to the left is done. We've got the beautiful new spiderwort that this is Webmaster. Beautiful blue-green foliage. Planted those yesterday, so we've got 3 of those, 1, 2, and then 3. Hiding, because it is just coming up right here, is the storm cloud Amsonia. Beautiful early spring, true blue flowers. But y'all, doesn't this bed look a million times better than it did yesterday when I started? Everything just pops. It looks great. You will notice along the pathway that I have dianthus, and then there is lemon coral sedum. Lemon coral sedum for me is a perennial. It looks its worst really about right now. It is very thin. It will come back, but trying to lay mulch around there was very challenging. So what I did is I put just a little bit of mulch on top of it. Once it heats up, which it really will with the mulch now, it'll fill in and get nice and thick. And y'all, like right here, I don't see any between these 2 dianthus. If it doesn't come back, guess what? I go grab one and I replace it. We sell them as annuals, but for me, it technically is a perennial. The new azaleas in here are gonna look so pretty. They're gonna go ahead and bloom this year. Gorgeous. The hydrangeas back there, everything is going to look amazing. Now, one thing I did forget to tell you when I was fertilizing is I did not put any kind of tone, like plant tone, holly tone, rose tone, on the plants that I just planted yesterday. So the azaleas, which are acid-loving plants, would have received holly tone. The spiderwort would have gotten plant tone, but I just planted them yesterday and I used the biotone when I planted. That's enough fertilizer for the first 6 weeks. So I will mark my calendar, especially for my azaleas, because they are repeat bloomers, in 6 weeks to come back and fertilize them again, right? So because I want to have a big, beautiful display of flowers in the summer and then again in the fall. So I'll mark my calendar and we'll come back and sprinkle a little holly tone around them, and you know, it takes 5 minutes to do that. Easy peasy. But it just looks so nice. The next thing that's going to be driving me crazy are the weeds and the gravel. Jerry will take care of that for me. But we did, when I came in and brought the mulch, I brought it up to the path right here, so it's really right in here. We're gonna come back, and here probably within the next 2 to 3 weeks, and we're gonna use this same Creekside blend of mulch, and we're gonna go ahead and do all of this back here. So don't worry that it's not the exact same mulch. It's going to be, so it's gonna be fine. Of course, in here, we just planted the anemones, and the ranunculus are in here, and then we've got 3 different sets of David Alstons. I have got Encore azaleas on the next row, and then finally are my sweet osmanthus, but here in the South, we call them tea olives or sweet olives. All of that will get fertilizer, and then we'll come back through with the mulch on that as well. But it just looks a million times better. It looks loved, it looks taken care of, it's all dressed up, and I am one happy gardener. Now, coming up, see right here, we're gonna pivot just a little bit. Let me give you an up close view of these plants. Now I did literally just water them, y'all. So my poor sweet Alyssum, the white knight, is he's a little wet, and so a little weighed down here. So here we go. Oh, Brenda, I had the voice, and so Brenda thought I was talking to her. So there you go. So there's 3 of those white knights in there. And then of course the 2 bright lights osteos. Those are gonna grow big. I could have put 1, y'all, but I thought about it and I was like, nope, go big or go home. So I put 2. And then of course the 4 of the Aromat's mulberry nemesia right there. And then our poor little pitiful lavender standard. But see, I don't know if the camera's gonna pick up, but the cuts, they are green. So she's just a little slow. It's all right. It'd be just fine. And then of course, look at the At Last, just full of new leaves. We're gonna have flowers before we know it. Now, I would be irresponsible if I did not tell you that, so today that I'm filming is, what is today? Today is Thursday. On Monday, they are calling for a low of 28 degrees. Now today is gonna be 80, like in the low 80s, but on Monday, the low is 28. If you are planting your annuals, you need to be fully prepared to either cover them or put them in a protected area. I don't know what I'll probably just cover these because they're in a nice collection. Am I gonna cover that rose? Nope, I'm not. It is perfectly fine. What I'm gonna focus on, am I gonna cover the lavender? Nope, it's been out all winter. It too is perfectly fine. I'm just gonna focus on the nemesia, the osteos, and the white knight because those are new, they haven't really hardened off. The urns that I did with the nemesia and the osteos, a couple of nights ago, it got down to 31, did not cover them. They're fine, they still have flowers on them. These aren't quite hardened off and going down to 28, and then it may actually go lower here. I'm gonna go ahead and cover them. So just be aware that if you're not past your last frost date, or if you're very close to your last frost date, the weather is crazy and you may have to cover. If you don't know your last frost date, go to Professor Google. Just simply type in, what is the average last frost date for, and put your zip code in. And it will tell you. For around here, it's about April the 15th. So I'm a whole month early. I'm pushing the envelope, people. I'm getting bold in my old age, I tell you. So it has been a great day, great 2 days, getting this whole project done. I absolutely am thrilled. I am loving it, and it makes me very, very happy to see this bed all neat and tidy and happy and ready for an amazing season. As always, we so appreciate you. Thank you so much for gardening with Creekside. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for the emails, sign up for emails so you can get into the March Madness here at Creekside Nursery. As always, we appreciate you. See you next time. Bye, friends.